How's that? Do you feel like you're in Maui yet? Maui is where I lived for 10 years, so Maui is no ka'oi. It's my heart home. So I just love that little ode to Lahaina Luna and Maui. I realized, and I did initial welcome, I didn't introduce myself. I'm Reverend Helen Downey, and I was a pastor of a little church in Maui years ago, and then I was called to go back to the mainland, and since I've been back, I was in Oregon first, and then New Mexico, and I landed here in Prescott about 3 years ago. And found this wonderful community. And so it's really been my pleasure to be getting a little bit more involved in supporting this beautiful work as it moves forward in new and wonderful ways. And I said, oh, sure, I'll do the platform, I'll do this, I'll do that. And then I went, oh, yeah, I did. That was a lot. How tongue-tied will I be? So bear with me. I'm going to try to keep my order nice and straight. So let me put the candle lighting here. I sort of have dubbed this Aloha Sunday, understandably, right? And I see some of you got the memo and wore some colorful things and a couple of Hawaiian shirts out there. And a few of you managed to get leis on the way in. So that's wonderful. And I wanted you to get the spirit of the islands because nothing I like more than talking about the spirit of Aloha and all that entails. So, who's been to the islands of Hawaii? Oh, so you've never heard the word aloha before, right? So what do we think of when we hear aloha? What do we think of in terms of its meaning and uses? Hello, I love you. Hello. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. As you can tell, there's not just one meaning. Oh, did I hear something else? Goodbye, yes, it does. It means goodbye as well. And part of what I really enjoyed when I got to Maui, I really wanted to immerse myself in the local culture and was able to get involved with local kupuna, which are elders, and they were just so open and welcoming, and it was so delightful, and just wanted to educate myself about the true meanings of the spirit of Aloha and a little bit of the history. And I knew immediately, I found out it was far beyond hello, goodbye, and I love you. And there's nothing wrong with those. It is a greeting. It's a greeting and it's a parting word. And of course, it also means love. And I'm here to tell you so many more meanings. And among them are affection, gratitude, kindness, empathy, mercy, and many, many, many more. I also learned when I was there that once you put aloha with one other word, it just explodes exponentially with the vastness of the meanings that it can have. When I say aloha, we're talking about a little aloha making a big difference. What actually is aloha? We've talked about these simple, traits that we associate with aloha. And there are many admirable human traits as well, every one of them. Yet beyond that, aloha has a really deeper spiritual and cultural meaning to the people of the Hawaiian Islands. The root word of aloha, words, now there's little variations on this that shift a little over time, but still the essence remains the same, that it is a joining of the word alo, which means face or presence, and ha, which means breath, the breath of life, the life force. You could say the divine life force. It is thought of in that allness, that awareness that we're all one. And there is this divine breath. After all, that's what comes when we come into this world, and that's what leaves on our way out of the physical body. In greeting with aloha, you're really recognizing the life force. You're calling in a divine presence. And I guess I'm just going to have to keep these on, sorry. And the other person as well as yourself. And it demonstrates, all the aspects of aloha demonstrate a connectedness, a union, a unity, a commonality in, we're all one. And there seems to be a deep recognition and honoring of that. In fact, an ancient physical greeting of aloha, I have a volunteer coming up, is called tuhoni. Are you familiar with honi? I see some yeses. Okay. I have a volunteer. Yes, why don't you come up here for me, hon? We'll scoot over. So, in ancient times, and you still see this after the Hawaiian Renaissance, everything started coming back magnificently. The music, the lore, the ole, which are the chants, and the mele, the songs, and hula, deeper hula, even more and more of the kahiko hula, which is old style, ancient hula. But tuhoni is a greeting, which, so is hello, so is aloha. But honi is coming together respectfully, touching foreheads, and then putting the noses together or just to the side of each other, and breathing in each other's essence. Thank you. Calming, just doing that. But what that purpose is, it's really honoring the divinity in that other person. But it's not forgetting you. It's honoring yours as well as theirs, because you're all one. And you come together in this sacred moment of exchanging life, breathing in each other's molecules. They say we're breathing in molecules of Einstein, of the great painters, of the Rembrandts, of Jesus, of any being that ever walked the planet. Those molecules, all those cells, they're still wafting around. So we have so many people going on inside of, so many magnificent things going on. So I just love to see it. And when it first started to really come back, I was still living in Maui. And it was so beautiful to see at the beach. I spent a lot of time at the beach because I did a lot of weddings that were by sunset, by the shore. And to see two big local boys meet, and take each other's shoulders and have this precious moment. It was like, oh, that's really beautiful. So we know about honi now. You're really showing deep respect for that life force, that divine life force, by that sharing of breath. And you're making yourself vulnerable. You're expressing trust, and you are, I'm not going to say expecting, you are receiving their trust as well. So now let's look at the acronym for Aloha that is actually enshrined in the Hawaii State Constitution. That's how important the spirit of Aloha is in that state. And that's what the little handout was that you got. So A is for akahai, and that means kindness, to be expressed with tenderness. B is lokahi, and that's unity, to be expressed with harmony. I want you for a minute while I read these, listen to the feelings you get with these words. Olu olu is agreeable, to be expressed with pleasantness. Ha'a ha'a is humility, to be expressed with modesty. And finally, ahonui, patience, to be expressed with perseverance. Just reading, hearing, maybe feeling those words, do you get a sense of sort of reverence and peace and a connection with all things? To me, there are many, many meanings of aloha. But if you want to just make it simple and you want to get it down to one word, it's love. I sometimes call a similar talk, aloha is a 4-letter word, because that is underneath every single trait that's involved. It's love, it's respect, it's caring, it's compassion, it's knowing that you're connected to every single person, not just in your family. In the islands, they call family ohana. And ohana doesn't just mean blood. Ohana is everybody. If you're there, and you're older, like me, way older, and you're there, you're an auntie. You're everybody's auntie. That's just how it is. You never know who's really related, because everyone's cuz, auntie, uncle, and it was a wonderful culture to step into. So, a couple more things about the Hawaii Constitution. Because they described aloha as traits of character that describe charm, warmth, and the sincerity of the Hawaiian people. I found that to be my experience. Everyone has different stories, especially tourists. I mean, you're in different places, you're doing different things. My whole time there, even when I first went over just to fill in at this little church before I moved there shortly thereafter, was about well, it called to me, I guess. I wanted to get immersed in the culture. I wanted my talks to address things that were going on in the community, as well as global interest. So I just thought that maybe looking at these words, we're having a time right now around us that it's not all nice, and it doesn't always feel good, and it can challenge us about how we're going to feel and what we're going to think and what we're going to do, or if we're going to do anything. And it can be kind of kapakai, they say, kind of all mixed up, And so can you imagine just these 5 words, just letting them sink in and thinking, what would a little bit of aloha through these different traits add to my life right now? How could it help me relax? How could it help me be more peaceful? How could it help me share more peace and love and compassion and appreciation with others? So I just want to immerse in that sense of the aloha spirit for a while. And finally, for my comment, what I wanted to share was, it says in the Constitution that aloha was the working philosophy of Native Hawaiians. It means mutual regard and affection, warmth and caring with no obligation in return. So it really is a gift. So anytime, I say aloha on the phone, I haven't let go of the word because it's things from my heart. And it's always not just hello. It always is embodying these traits of extra concern and respect and appreciation and caring. And I have to tell you, it lifts my heart. How can you not be happy when someone's telling you aloha? No. Maybe it doesn't work in Arizona, but it works for me in Arizona. So I would like to, I was just going to note that I've seen such wisdom in all of this, and the relevance seems important. Like I said, right now, if we bring a little bit of that aloha into our lives, it could make a lot of difference in our center and our balance of our being. And that pretty much handles the way we're doing our days and doing our activities and our actions and our communications. They actually mentioned at one point about this warmth and caring and the mutual regard, that they extended this warmth and caring to one another because they felt it was important to the collective existence. I wonder if any of us have that in our state constitutions anywhere. I don't remember ever reading anything about that in the states that I've lived in before. But there seems to be such attention to the people and to the people that come visit the people, to the people that are there. They're extremely hospitable. And I'm just checking Clay for time. So he's going to, okay. So my thought was, I did say in the little lead-in that was in the newsletter that I would touch base with on Ho'oponopono. Now, just like aloha, Ho'oponopono, very big subject, lots of depth, lots of layers of depth to it. But I thought I could just do a few little simple cliff notes, just that might pique your curiosity, and then you could easily go online or go to the library or dive into a little bit more if you'd like to bring it into your life. Sometimes when we see our relationships and things around us, other relationships, whether it's families or associates, and sometimes there are divisions or estrangements, and sometimes they're just something that, they did me wrong. Or we catch ourselves and say, ooh, I really didn't need to say that. A process that can kind of be helpful with that to help ease that destruction is doing some work with Ho'oponopono. Now, basically, Ho'oponopono is about forgiveness and reconciliation. It brings about pono. Pono means it makes things right. You want things right in your life, meaning balance and centered. So Ho'oponopono is a process to do that. And I'm going to skip around history a little bit here. Basically, in ancient times, when there was fussing going on in the community and the family, or any of the wahana, the whole community, one of the elders would gather everyone involved together in a circle. They would sit, and he would moderate, and one by one, each person would share their grievance or their rebuttal or their further questioning or their reasoning, whatever. Everyone had a turn to express, even if they weren't the two people with the immediate grievance, they had an opportunity to express their thoughts on the matter. And after they had time, discussions where they dealt with grievance and confession and repentance, and at that point, possibly restitution, whatever that looked like, whatever form that was. Then it was considered complete. It was all POW, P-A-U. That just meant done. It's over. They never reflected back on that. We should have, we could have. He got the best of me. Oh, she did the wrong thing. It was just done because they recognized the importance, one, that any problem in family or in community affects everyone in the family or community. It's never isolated. I don't know how often we think about that, but that's paramount. And also, they recognize the value of saying, it's all done. We're now back to the present, and we're moving forward harmoniously. And that takes care of their sense of rightness, their sense of safety, their sense of community. I thought it was a great example of realizing that those conflicts can impact the whole community. And then when we work together, we come up with solutions, don't we? Sometimes the problems look overwhelming, but we come up with solutions. So, modern day Ho'oponopono. This is what you'd probably be wanting to check on. It's a little simpler than all that involvement. A woman named Morna Simeona, who was a Hawaiian healer back in 1976, sort of streamlined the practice into a self-help healing kind of technique that was more simplified. And one of her students, Dr. E. Haleakala Hugh Len, say that 3 times, claimed in the 1980s to have healed an entire, you may have heard this is what the word started getting at, to have claimed an entire ward of dangerously mental ill patients, often violent, these patients, at a Hawaii State hospital, and doing so without ever meeting them. Have a number of you heard about that? Or heard or seen anything about Ho'oponopono? Think about that. 200 people, sure, they started leaving and being released, 2 this time, 3 that time, until that facility eventually closed as a high-risk facility. And to think, doing this without ever meeting them. He said he took the cases home. He then reviewed the patient files, and he did Ho'oponopono on himself, taking 100% responsibility for the problems. That sounds like a real kicker, doesn't it? But actually think about it. He was treating, what was going on out there, that's the dream we all live in. He was treating his own consciousness. He was treating a knowing that he could only see perfection, he could only see peace and well-being and a pono state for these individuals. I can't quote him, but this is what I surmised from my reading about his. And he actually treated that consciousness. And in a way, I consider that like treatment that we do, spiritual mind treatment, affirmative prayer, our practitioners. It's about knowing the truth of you. You're not focusing on the problem or the challenge or the situation that your client has. You're holding the higher vision of them, that bright light, that divine brilliance that is absolute perfection and is in pono and is in right and perfect order. So again, we're working on ourselves when we're doing treatment, even though it's about you or it's about the person sitting with us. Okay, just to share these to wrap up Ho'oponopono modern style. The 4 phrases that he began repeating, he came up with using these. He even condensed this a little bit from Morna Simeone. He started using, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you. Anyone know the last one? I love you, see, you know. Can you say them with me? I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And when you say those over and over, I'm telling you, magic happens. Magic happens. And you're not really, well, you'll get into that. This is just your teaser if you want to dive into it. You're not saying, I forgive me for this. You're not saying to the person even really. You are, but the deeper meaning is you're saying this to yourself. Forgive me for myself falling out of center out of alignment to where I am seeing or experiencing this, which isn't in alignment. So just a little encouragement that if you ever want a simple healing tool, you don't even have to read the book to do that, but if you read segments or look it up online, you'll read the backstory more specifically. He also worked with, it became very popular when, what's his name? He was in The Secret. Joe Vitale, who was in The Secret, the film years ago, metaphysical, kind of woke a lot of people up. He discovered Dr. Hugh Lin's stories, and he approached him, and they co-wrote a book called Zero Limits. And so there's lots of deeper layers written about each of those statements. And it's really, I don't want to say adventure. It's an interesting thing to delve into and then see how you can apply it in your own life. Just like a little aloha can make a big difference, a little ho'oponopono can make a big difference too. The idea of that changing by these 4 statements, I got to thinking, that sounds a little bit familiar, because what do we do when we treat, or what do we say in this spiritual philosophy? Change your thinking, change your life. Who's experienced that in their life? Double hands, okay. And if you want to experience that, you can. So change your thinking, change your life. And everyone, including you and me, we all can find strength and comfort in that. And at first you test it. You test treatment. You test changing your idea about something. And then when it works, you go, oh! And in the beginning I said, oh, coincidence. 3 is my magic number. I got to like the 3rd one and said, okay, there's really something going on here. And that was like 40 years ago. So our founder, Ernest Holmes, and the author of The Science of Mind, said by consciously choosing faith and confidence, we can create new positive patterns in our subconscious. And to overcome worry, I mentioned earlier about the words and the philosophies of the Hawaiians. You don't hear anything about worry in there. You don't hear fear entrenched in there. So to overcome worry, one must consciously choose faith. And Holmes says that faith is the only complete answer to worry, and that faith in something greater than we are. And I can honestly say that I have found that in my own experience, because I tell people, whatever what's going on, I used to be a worrier. I used to be a black belt worrier for decades. And after I got into this philosophy and learned more and more and really did the work and worked with it, I found that I let go of that black belt in worrying. And I still have, shift happens still. Things still come up. But there's such a calmer essence. I don't ride the crazy train, and I don't freak out and fall down into the deep pits of despair and fear. So I think ho'oponopono, and I think aloha, a little bit of aloha, can also make a big difference in if we are worrying about something, and that is closing in on us in our life. So finally, I just want to say the final attributes of aloha, it's love. That's the most sufficient definition I can think of, and you can't hold love and fear at the same time. So if we decide we're going to make a commitment to immerse ourselves in love, in aloha, in that energy of compassion and goodness and kindness and divinity, and seeing that divinity in others, I think we are firmly rooted, and we're not going to have to worry about any more of that fear, or even it affects us on the anger level, and especially on the worry level. So in love, we trust the universe. In love and in aloha, we don't worry. And that gives us much more time and energy to be happy. So I want to say to you now, mahalo, mahalo nui loa, that means thank you very much for your time and your attention. And I hope you've been soaking up the aloha spirit that's in here. And we are going to move right on to the next thing. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Mahalo.
All right, well, I guess we all are the next next thing.